I think a lot of teams will struggle next season, but I'm not sure a lot of teams are in as bad a position as Leeds. They've lost their best two players in Rafinha and Calvin Phillips. Rafinha played most of Leeds' games last season, with 35 appearances and 11 goals in the league. Calvin Phillips only had 20 appearances, so it's not a whole lot, but he was injured for most of the season, so that pretty much explains it. Still, we know how good he is. Rafinha is about to sign for Barcelona for about £60 million, and Phillips has already signed for Man City for about £41 million. I think the £41 million is a bit low. I thought Rafinha would have gone for a lot more, something around the 60-70 mark. Certainly the same amount as Rafinha, if not more, but maybe Calvin Phillips only had maybe a year or two left on his contract. I'm not sure. That's the only way I could really explain why the fee is so low. And with Rafinha, I think he's overpriced. Don't get me wrong, I think he is a good player, but he's definitely not worth 60 million. But anyway, I digress. Looking at Leeds' squad, we're going to take a look at what their squad looked like in the last game of last season against Brentford. And just to mention quickly, Leeds conceded 79 goals last season, which is absolutely atrocious. I didn't realize how bad Leeds' defense was until I actually looked at it, but it was shocking last season. And it's something that needs to be addressed. And yeah, so looking at their squad, obviously against Brentford, Meslier is number one. He has been for the last couple of seasons, so that's not surprising. I think he is a decent keeper, and being a young keeper, he's still got a lot of potential. Where things start to get a bit concerning is that their right back, Junior Firpo, he has been injured in preseason, so he's going to be out for a reported 2 months, and it looks like they're going to have to find a replacement for him. Now, I know that Luke Ayling is a right back, so he should be able to come in and slot in. Obviously, Leeds have signed some new players, so we'll get onto them soon. But yeah, that's something that they could do. Then they've got Robert Koch at centre back. I think he's a decent player, but that's all I can really say. Liam Cooper, I think he's a god awful defender. He's one of the defenders that makes you nervous whenever the ball goes near him. Something bad's gonna happen. And maybe that's unfair to say because Leeds as a whole had a terrible season last season. If you're talking about the previous season, you would have said he's a decent defender, but all of a sudden a player or a team has a bad season and you think everyone's the worst ever. But anyway, Diego Llorente against Brentford, he was playing at left back, but he's actually a centre back, which I didn't actually know about until I did some research. So I think what will happen is he'll come out of the team. He'll be more of a squad player, which I'm pretty sure that's what his role is. But anyway, moving on. Rafinha, he's gone to Barcelona. Jack Harrison, he plays on left wing. This is interesting because we'll get to it soon, but Leeds have signed some new players, so it looks like there are some competitions for those wing positions. Then we go to Sam Greenwood. He won't be in the team. He'll be on the bench or he'll probably be loaned out. Rodrigo, he should be starting up top. He's still, decent forward. Joe Geldal, another youth player. He won't be in the team. So, you don't have to worry about him. This one, Pascal Struejig, he's interesting because, he has played, in the team consistently, but, obviously he didn't play against Brentford in that last game. I'm not sure what that reason was or how many games he played last season. Um, I didn't quite get around to taking a look at his stats for last season, but if I was to make a guess, it looks like Cooper is going to start next season, but if it was me, I would play Struejig in front of Cooper. Um, the only game I really remember Struejig in was when he got sent off against Liverpool. Obviously, that's just one bad game, so you can't really analyze that throughout the whole season. But then you look at it as a whole, and Leeds had a terrible season. So make of it what you will. Matches Click was really disappointing last season. He did start last season, but he got dropped massively out of form. Nothing was really going right. I don't think he really played a lot of 90-minute games, especially in the early stages of last season. He was a player that was constantly coming off for other players, so I'm not sure what happened with him last season. Maybe just maybe age caught up with him, or maybe just obviously he just didn't. Maybe he's just out of form. Who really knows? Um, excuse me. Then we got Luke Ayling, as I mentioned earlier. So he could start next season at right back. We'll have to wait and see. Helder Costa is back from a loan from Valencia. It was a shocking season. He didn't play many games. Obviously, if you play, 20, 22 games, it seems like a lot, but throughout a season, you should be playing, the 38 games. Yeah, so I'm not sure what happened with him. Obviously, it seems like his career has kind of gone to a standstill or even nosedive, because when he first came up with Leeds, I think he was doing decently, scoring goals. Things were going good. And then, didn't really start, a lot of games last season, even though Leeds were struggling. Went to loan in Valencia. I think even the first season that got promoted, I don't think he was really a starter, so that's the reason why he went to Valencia on loan. But, and, obviously we know that how that's worked out. Calvin Phillips, obviously he's gone to Man City. Stuart Dallas is another interesting one because, obviously he didn't start this game against Brentford. He wasn't even in the squad. I think what's happening with him is obviously there was injuries, but I think he's another player that's out of form, and age is becoming a factor. I think he'll probably go on loan somewhere, but that's just my opinion. And just quickly, I think Leeds will play a 4-2-3-1. I think that's the system that they're going to go with. Because of the players that they're bringing in, I think that's the system that's going to make the most sense. So with their new signings, they've got Brendan Aronson. So he's a really young player. He's an attacking mid. He's going to play, just behind the striker. I assume it will be Rodrigo. And he's going to be the one that's creating chances for the wingers and the strikers. But what concerns me is that, he's only 21. He did come for about £30 million from Salzburg, so that's a decent amount of money to spend on a player. But at the same time, he has no Premier League experience, and he's still a player that is learning the game. So to throw him into a team that, is going to be in a relegation battle next season is going to be pretty rough, but we'll see how that goes. Next, we've got Louis Sinistera, who's a left wing. He's another young player that's 23. Another player that has no Premier League experience for about £23 million from Feyenoord. He's a player that, is supposed to be I think a competition for Harrison, because Harrison plays the same position, but yet they've gone and signed another left winger, which makes me think that maybe Harrison isn't going to be either not starting next season or he's going to be moved to the right wing. I'm not really sure yet. I'm not sure what Jesse Marsh's plans are yet, which, we'll get to that. But yeah, he's come from Feyenoord, the Dutch league, so, a league that isn't quite as competitive as the Premier League, so, he's going to have to really learn as he's going on with the season. So, that'll be interesting. Next, we've got Tyler Adams. He's a defensive mid. He's not going to be a direct placement for Calvin Phillips. I don't think that's what people are really expecting. He's 23. He came for about £15 million from Leipzig. So he's another player that he's going to have to really learn as he's playing. And I'm not really even sure if he's going to start the season. So, maybe what's going to happen is, maybe Click gets brought back into the team. Obviously he didn't play a whole lot last season, but maybe he gets brought back. And, obviously I said that, they're probably going to be playing a 4-2-3-1. So maybe Click and Tyler Adams are in the middle, but that seems like a whole lot for, an aging player and a player that, still learning the game. So that seems like a really risky move, especially if, with last season, Leeds nearly got relegated. So, they really don't want to be making the same mistakes, but, whatever. And the last player that, that I want to talk about they've signed is Rasmus Christensen. So he's 24 and he plays a right back. So now it's not starting to make any sense because I'm not sure why Leeds are signing. I don't know why they've signed another right back. It doesn't really make much sense. Obviously Junior Firpo got injured. Luke Ayling is getting older. So maybe that's why they brought in another younger right back. And, injuries can play a factor. But the thing is, what happens when Firpo comes back? So obviously he's out for 2 months, but when he comes back, you've got all these right backs, in the squad. Maybe some they got on loan before the season starts. I'm not really too sure. I'm not sure what's happened with the squad yet because, the window's still open. But then at the same time, the season starts in less than 4 weeks. So it's like, what the fuck's going on? I really have no idea what's going on. But, it'll be interesting to see what happens. So that's pretty much the team. I think it will be a 4-2-3-1. Apart from that, let's look at the fixtures. This video's going on for quite a while, so we'll try and wrap things up. So instead of there being 3 games in August, there's actually going to be 5, which is ridiculous because that's a lot of games to start the season. But obviously it being, well, not only is it a World Cup yet, the World Cup's in fucking December and November, so it's kind of throw things, out of whack. So we have 5 games in August. This is massive. So Leeds need to get up to a good start because of how the season is. I think that if you get up to a bad season, it's going to be really hard to come back from it. So Leeds play Wolves at Ellen Road in the first game. To be honest, I don't see Leeds getting anything more than a point out of this game. So it's either, what's going to happen is either Wolves win or Leeds draw or lose. I don't see them getting maximum points in this game. It is the first game of the season, so, the fans are going to be up for it, but I think Wolves did way too well last season to suggest that, they're not going to... let's be honest, either Wolves win this game or they draw it. That's what's going to happen. Then the next game, you go to Southampton and Leeds. So Leeds are playing away at St. Mary's to Southampton, so... Southampton are an interesting team. They can be very, very good, but as we saw last season, they can be really bad as well. I'm not sure what Southampton side is going to turn up at St. Mary's. I do expect it being the start of the season, Southampton will be in decent form. Obviously, they've got Tottenham in their first game, so, possibly, they could get embarrassed, but I don't think so. I think it'll be a tight game. I think Leeds could get a point out of this game, so I'll put a point down. Then Leeds play Chelsea at home. Absolutely no chance of Leeds getting anything out of this game, so they'll get no points. Then Brighton play Leeds, so obviously Leeds playing Brighton away at the Amex. Brighton are another interesting team. They can be a really tough team to play against, but they're just so inconsistent. I think Leeds could get a point out of this game. It's either that or they lose it. And the last game for August is Leeds and Everton. Obviously, we know what happened with Everton last season. Just absolutely shocking. Things really did get so bad that they could have gotten relegated. Obviously Leeds were in the same position, but you expect more from Everton. Being a bigger club. Um, well, obviously Leeds are a big club, but Everton have been around the Premier League for a lot longer. I think Leeds could get maximum points out of this game, but I don't think Everton will be as bad as last season. I just don't really see it happening. If it does happen, I'll be shocked. I'll be really shocked, but I think Leeds could possibly get maximum a draw out of this game. So if you're really looking at it all, I think Leeds could possibly get a maximum of 4 out of 15 points. And the way it could happen is, maybe instead of looking at things this way, let's say Leeds, they beat Wolves opening day, and then they only pick up 1 point for the rest of the other games because Leeds are playing, quite a few away games. Well, I mean, really it's only 3, but then when you factor in that they're playing Chelsea at home, that's like, well, you're not expecting anything out of that. But yeah, I think Leeds will get maximum 4 out of 15 points. So I think they're going to really struggle next season. It's going to be a tough start, and they're going to be playing catch up for the rest of the season. And that's about it.